Natasha, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I mean, it's spooky season.
Yes,
Uh,
finally. Finally,
I,
we've been waiting all year.
I like mentally prepare myself. Like I like even like end of August, like early September. I'm like preparing myself for my lists
Oh
in
yeah.
October. And you know what's going to be on my list? VHS 85. October
Yay.
6th on Shudder. Beyond Fest is kind of happening now. Premiere, congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
is the mindset different with found footage and just like a movie that's not found footage, or is it all kind of storytelling for you? Because this one, I'm sure, was pretty different compared to past
It's
projects you
different.
worked on.
Yeah, it's different. Of course it's different. Of course it's different because, we have our little toolkit. We have our bag of tricks. And it's filmmakers and that gets taken away and suddenly you have to sort of re-examine how do I create this illusion? How do I pull this off? So I'll be honest with you, I was pretty scared of it initially when I first came on board. I was like, oh Jesus, well, how am I going to do this? Truthfully, I ended up loving the process. I loved it so much. I love cinema as well and film language, and that'll always be something that's important to me in my films. But it was such a great, liberating process to make this found footage.
In terms of like the process of getting involved, I know how it is. It's a collaboration, opportunities. I know that whole thing. So I'm not asking about that, but I'm asking about, I mean, the big thing that I think people love about the VHS films, and this one obviously does the same thing, is it's this combination of, I generally feel like they're all scary. You watch a lot of movies and they have kind of like that horror movie label, and then it's more thriller, and it's like, okay, I can deal with this. All the VHS films are very scary. So it's that. But then there's also the what did I just watch
Yeah.
component. So my
Yeah.
question is, when you're kind of getting in, when you're having those preliminary discussions about, directing and getting involved with a VHS film, are you thinking about both those things? Are you thinking about the horror component more than the what am I just watching component? Are you thinking of both of them? Like, I'm curious about that.
Honestly, we're just telling the story. I mean, my writing partner, Zoe Cooper, the writer on this segment, is a maniac. She's a total maniac, and I think pushed a lot of the horror stuff, a lot of the sort of the high concept stuff, and then also the horror stuff, right? So we're doing all of it, and then the like, what the fuck did I just watch factor? I think just comes along with the territory because honestly, like we are constantly trying to go into that territory as filmmakers and we are constantly being told no, pull back, it's too wacky, it's too crazy. There's this insane idea of broad appeal.
Mhm.
Like that we're constantly bumping up against. So this was really, they just let the kids loose in the playground, and VHS 85 is what you get.
This is the only kind of like, plot driven question. I tend to not ask about certain things that happen in things because I'm a big believer of going in fresh. I feel like you
Yeah.
have to go in fresh. Obviously, a lot of amazing directors like yourself on this, different kind of parts and different kind of stories, might or might not kind of come together at some points. I don't know. They got to watch. What can you tell us about your kind of collaboration specifically on this and your story, like your story that you directed for VHS 85?
Yeah, without getting into the story too much, it is something that the writer Zoe and I had been tossing around as an idea, and it was actually set in the future. So we sort of loved this idea of wearable tech and sort of like playing around with that. And it wasn't until I joined the 85 team that we had to put in those guardrails, right? Like now we have to be set in 1985. And that's actually when it started to get really exciting. And this sort of like dialogue between 1985 and 2023 started to appear, and so we were like, wow, this is really fun. Now we're getting it. Now we're getting somewhere cool and wacky. So it was really a journey of discovery, honestly, like taking that kernel of the idea and then putting it in 85 and seeing it sort of turn into something else.
Oh, I want to talk about something, but it's gonna be a spoiler. Why did you do this to me? Because the well,
Sorry.
I'll just say this. Um, there's like that 0 to 100 is that story goes 0 to 100 at moments. That's not really a spoiler. I
Yeah.
mean, but do you know what
The
I
one
mean?
two punch.
Yeah, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
by that a little bit?
Well, that's part of doing something that's short,
Yeah.
and that needs to sort of fit into a larger context. And the filmmakers, we were pretty siloed off. Funny enough, it's such a cohesive movie, but we were kind of in our own little worlds, really just doing what we wanted to do with the film. And so, partially it's a testament to David Bruckner, who's obviously brilliant and did this gorgeous wraparound that brings it all together. But I think we just really wanted to do something that was a plant payoff.
Yeah.
So 0 to 100. That was the goal.
God. And the films, all of them, and specifically yours, I mean, you're very uncomfortable watching a little bit of this. And I don't know if it's because of the aesthetic of like the fact that it is like this found footage and like looks like these tapes that have just been found like out of nowhere. But like, I think, generally, Natasha, I feel like we love horror movies because it's like equivalent to like being on a roller coaster, right? We kind of have that kind of thrill component of it, right? Like I love that about horror movies.
Yeah.
In terms of making them and, being a fan of them, do they kind of come together a little bit, or do you feel like they're two separate kind of entities?
Gosh, that's such a good question. I get scared, but I love the experiential nature of horror movies. And so that to me, that experience of being a fan and a viewer to me does feel very separate from making something. When we're making something, I think we're so in the trenches. We see all the seams. We're really like, we're really the magicians, right? Like we're creating this illusion. And so the joy is much more in creating the illusion and pulling off the illusion, right? So, Techno God ends with a very specific image. And that was what we had started with, was actually this image. And we knew what the payoff was. And so, creating that is where the joy comes from. Whereas as a fan, I love to just, buckle up, take me on a ride, so it is very different. They're two different experiences.
In terms of, the conversations, with your writing partner and everything specifically about putting this together, how much of it before kind of filming and finalizing, like, was there room to play and like changes here and there? Because it's the reason I asked that is because I find it interesting with a short, right? You know what I mean? Like short form content where it's like, I feel like there's gonna be it's hard sometimes to like not pack it, you know what I mean? So I'm just curious, was there kind of push and pull with like what to add, what to take out? Like I'm just curious about that.
No, we kept it really contained. I think Zoe's she's skilled in many ways, but I think she's very good at understanding the assignment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A lot of writers will try to pack a feature into a short. Our short is very short. I think it's like 14 minutes or something. It's you're in and out. And not trying to pack like a 3-act structure and a full character change or anything like that. I think just again that idea of going in super precise, surgical, and going in, this is what we're trying to do, these are the ideas, these are the themes, these are the jokes, in and out. And I think she really embraced that. But of course, the script always has stuff that doesn't make it onto the screen.
Yeah,
so there's stuff
absolutely. I'm a creative as well. I just wrapped a short film that I produced and wrote. And
congratulations!
Thank
is
you.
it horror?
It is not.
Okay.
That one's not horror, but I am developing some horror movies.
Excellent. We love it.
But I just love. There's just it. You said it perfectly. There's so much room to play in the genre. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much to do, right? Like it is like, because I was talking to some actor friends of mine. They're like, man, like everyone's making horror movies right now. And it's like, there's a lot of reasons. At the end of the day, it's like, it's a business and everything, and people want to go with the crazy. But they're fun. Like there's a big appeal. So when is that like kind of working on horror movies at a time where there's a big appetite for them? Like they've always been around.
It's so much fun. And the business had a really tough year. This was a really hard year. It's been a hard few years, right? Obviously with pandemic and everything going on in the world that we live in.
Yep.
And it's been really kind of cool to see horror just really holding steady and just saving movie theaters. Yep. Like you're welcome. It was Tom Cruise in horror movies, right? and Christopher Nolan, but the strength of horror and the flexibility of it, the big tent attitude of horror that everyone is welcome and everyone can tell their stories and it can be broad appeal, right? A family in Minnesota can watch a horror movie made by Filipino filmmakers, right? Yep. and be very moved by it, you know, because it is that universal it's that universal language, right? Like you take the subtitles off of a horror movie, you still kind of know what the hell is going on. So
and I have to say, you're in very good company because, you know, Shudder is unbelievable. Like, just shout out to Shudder because I can like recommend. I talked to my friends about this and I wasn't lying. Like, I could recommend 35 movies that are on Shudder right now on the top of my head. Like, there's so many. Like, it's such an amazing, like, the curation is just incredible over there.
And working with those guys, I can tell you they genuinely love horror. They love old horror, they love new horror, they love international horror, they love the big horror too, you know. Scott Derrickson is a huge filmmaker. He's on VHS, you know. So there's room for everybody, and they are truly lovers of horror cinema.
I love horror, and like on Popternative, you know, we are such kind of like a global outlet too. So we, you know, want to showcase films from like all around the world, but we really do love horror. Like, because it's a fun month for us. We have so much spooky season. Like, we promote all the Shudder stuff. We love Shudder because they just have so many amazing movies, including VHS 85. Yay. On Shudder, October 6th. They're going to be able to check it out. Natasha, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Is Instagram the best place for people to keep up to date with everything?
Oh, yeah. I'm really bad on social media, but yes, I am on there. You can find me. I think I'm the only Natasha Kermani.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes. You, of course, can catch VHS 85 on Shudder, October 6th. Amazing stuff to watch during spooky season. Until next time, it's Natasha Kermani and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.